Hey guys, and welcome to the Dixie Belle Paint YouTube channel. My name is Jodie and I am the artist and owner of Decoris Vintage Designs and a brand ambassador for Dixie Belle Paint. And today I am going to be showing you one of the brand spanking new silk colours, which I'm really excited about. I've got this gorgeous piece here that I'm going to paint, so make sure you stay tuned for that. So the first thing that I am going to do, that I do on any project that I start, is clean my piece of furniture. This will just ensure that all the old icky, gross dirt stuff is off, and then I can be confident that my paint is going on top of a solid foundation and is going to adhere properly. I am cleaning this piece with Dixie Belle's Pristine Clean with a lint-free cloth, and I'm just going to make sure that I get into all those corners and the interior everywhere, just to make sure it is nice and clean. And then just with some plain water I decide to spray it down, just because I want to make sure that there's no residue left off from the cleaner as well. So I just decide to wash it all off with a water mister and then go in with a rag and dry that off. And then once I've done all of that, I give the piece a really good scuff sand. I am using 120 grit sandpaper here, and this is just to rough the piece up a little bit to make sure that my paint is set up to adhere. I got this cute piece from the antique centre that my workshop is based in, so it was only £35. It isn't actually an antique, and it was kind of sitting there lonely for a while, so by painting this piece I am actually very much quadrupling, if not whatever after quadrupling is the value. So it is actually one of those pieces that is going to be worth a lot more money painted, and it means that it can go into somebody's home again and be loved. So I decided to paint this piece in one of the brand new silk all-in-one mineral paint colours, Mirage. And the fantastic thing about silk paint is that it has a built-in primer, which includes a odour blocker, stain blocker, and it also prevents bleed through, and it also has a built-in top coat with a soft sheen to it. When painting with silk, it is recommended to use a synthetic brush because these reduce brush strokes. You also don't need any water when painting with silk because it goes on nice and smooth, and water can affect the built-in properties of silk. And it's also best to use long brush strokes, you know, with quite a lot of paint on your brush. I'm not talking a lot to the point where your brush is completely dripping, but just make sure that you've got enough on, because the work time is not as long as chalk mineral paint, so you kind of want to get the paint on there as quickly as you possibly can. On this piece here, obviously there is a lot of details, so I am having to stipple a lot of the paint in there, but this is just my first coat, so I will stipple the paint where I need to stipple it to make sure that I have good coverage, and then once this has dried, I'll go in and also then put on my second coat. The recommended time between applying coats is 2 hours, so just leave your paint to dry and cure a little bit before you go in there with your second coat, and that just sets you up for success. So initially I decided I wanted to paint all of this piece in Mirage, including the panels. I did actually change my mind in the end, so after I had painted these panels I quickly went and grabbed a lint-free rag and wiped off the paint, because I just thought actually this wood is quite nice, so it would be nice for some of that wood to kind of be highlighted and to sort of shine on this piece. I didn't want to cover up all of that wood grain. When painting your piece, if you do start to feel like your brush is dragging a little bit and that, you know, it is drying a little bit too quickly, you can mist a tiny little bit of water to keep it moving, but it's just not recommended to use a lot. Also, if you feel like it is actually starting to dry, it won't reactivate with water like chalk mineral paint will. The best thing to do if you start to feel your brush drag is just to let the paint dry and then go in afterwards with a second coat to get the coverage that you need. So after I wiped off the paint off these panels, it obviously left some residue behind. There was a little bits of paints in the cracks, so I just decided to give this a really good scuff sand again, and I just very, very gently went around all of those edges, making sure that there was no paint left over. Once I had done that, just check this out. I went in with hemp oil, and this looks amazing on wood. You can use it on paint as well, but what this does is it really brings out the colour in the wood grain. It will also nourish the wood and protect it as well. I applied this with a lint-free cloth and just made sure that it was well into the grain, and I just love, love, love how it just kind of almost dials up the contrast of that wood grain. I then, with some bronze gilding wax, decided to highlight some of these areas. So I highlighted a little bit of the pulls. I also just gently brushed this across some of the details as well. I just wanted to break up the blue a little bit, and I'm always a lover of gilding wax anyway. Most of my pieces end up gilded at some point, so I wasn't completely covering all of the pulls and I wasn't completely covering all of the details. As I say, it was just to highlight, and it's also to give the impression that maybe at some point this was really it might have been fully gilded, it might have been really, really bronzed, and over time it's began to fade a little bit. So this is what I love about gilding wax, and I always prefer to use my fingers rather than a brush, just because I feel like it gives a more authentic feel. But if you're more comfortable with a brush, then you can use whatever you want really. It's just, for me, using my fingers for the most part, it's just the way I work, and it's just how I feel most comfortable applying it. And here's the finished look. Let us know in the comments what you think to this makeover, and as always guys, have a great time painting. Take care, bye bye.